Welcome back to Motonista, where I try to blend the beauty of classic motorcycles to the dependability of modern ones. And in the previous episode, we've discussed the major clearance points of concern for the front fairing. In this episode, we'll talk about how to actually install it, mounting brackets and so forth, and also the seat, because the seat is also made of the fiberglass by the same company that made the fairing. And we'll take a walk around the motorcycle and see how everything fits together, and then we'll take the seat off just to see how it's installed, because some viewers had questions about the mounting procedures, and they will all be different, but they're all simple and very sturdy. They will not fall off, even if the hardware is not restraining it. So with that said, let's get to it, and let's take a closer look. So before I start, I'm going to tell you this. All of this fiberglass, the fairing, the screen, and also the seat with its upholstery padding came from GP Cycle Works in Florida. I believe it might be the only outfit in the whole USA that provides classic fiberglass or fiberglass work for older classic motorcycles, if you will. And they did a great job on reusing the old molds. If you're not familiar with GP Cycle Works, I wasn't either until a few months ago, and that's because it's a relatively newish company, but that's not saying much, because it's actually an older company. Originally started making the screens themselves, and used called Gustafson Plastics, and they used to make replacement bubble screens for all the fairings, but they bought the tooling, they bought the molds to make the fiberglass also from, I believe, AirTech and Glass from the Past, both of them on the West Coast. I'm not sure if those places are still in existence, probably not. So that makes GP Cycle Works the only one in existence in the USA that will still manufacture fiberglass for older classic motorcycles. And man, that's that is a beautiful, that's a beautiful work. And I guess in this episode we'll also talk about, we'll give them a slight review, and I wish them luck in the future, because I want to come back and be a customer of them. But let's take the seat off and see how that is mounted, and then we'll concentrate on the fairing. The seat itself, obviously, will receive all the load over here in the center, if you will, sometimes all the way in the back on the full throttle. So you guessed it, I put my supports over here on that edge, and over here I split it halfway. Let's see how it's mounted. Right now it's very sturdy. It's not going anywhere back or forth unless I lift up on it. Unless I lift up and pull back. And underneath it is almost the original frame. At least this bridge is. This bridge is came from factory. This is being a 1981 Honda CB900. See, I made that little catcher. It's a V-shaped catcher with a mushroom top and a support in the center. to catch this little V, I ground into the fiberglass. So that V centers it and prevents it from coming undone. And in the rear, it is a simple bridge. Oh, the wires are getting in the way. It's a simple bridge bolted onto the fiberglass itself, and that is a stainless steel rod. The rest of it is regular carbon steel, but that loop is made of stainless steel because I expect some rubbing, some friction between the fiberglass itself and the rod, which fiberglass is highly abrasive, so I don't want any rust on that eventually when that wears out. But let's it installs even with the cushion. That it would be the cushion where you see they're bolted. That would be upholstered eventually, and right now it's just see, it centered it, and it prevents it from coming up even with the cushion being bolted down, as you can see in 4 spots. So there is a seat, and you'll look much better with once the upholstery is done, which will happen within the next week or so. Now let's move on to the fairing. The fairing, if you saw the last episode, you know there was a lot of clearance, a lot of cutting, a lot of grinding before I even installed it onto the frame. Now it's fixed to the motorcycle with 2 screws on each side of the headlight. That screw right there doubles down as a windshield screw and a fairing screw, and I'll show you what I mean. You see that? That goes on both sides, and those 2 serve the big purpose into not only securing the wings of it makes the fairing so sturdy that I can shake the whole motorcycle by it, but also it brought the main load of the fairing from up there to this point right here, which is much closer to the base of the bracket. Let's see if you can see it. There it is. And so this makes this bracket much stronger, also because it's mounted in a triangle and in 4 corners. That makes this piece basically a part of the whole fairing. It's very strong. It's I mean, yeah, we'll talk about later about the strength of the fiberglass. The next point of connection was over here. This is a flange that runs all along the fairing that connects the top half of the fairing to the lower. It used to be a half, but I split it both ways. I'll show you later. There are 2 separate pieces now, so you can either remove 1 piece at a time if you need to work on, let's say, the charging system on a Honda 900 dual overhead cam. The charging system would be on the side, and then there's the charging system, and then the 4th point is right there on the bottom. You see it? It's a little bit it's not as strong, it's flimsier than the other 2, but it doesn't need to be very strong. All it needs to do is keep the distance. If you can see it, but I have distance between the alternator cover all the way around in order to allow some air to flow through. And like I mentioned earlier, fiberglass is highly abrasive. I don't want the fairing to be rubbing against any metal parts, and those little parts also prevent the the flapping in the wind of the wings of the fiberglass. Obviously the engine is very dirty, it's very dusty. Dust is very fiberglass dusty. You need to wear a mask when you grind on it, when you cut it. Also the windshield, I cut away. It used to extend about another inch or so past that intersection point. It used to come out this way and then go up. I ground some of it away, and I think it looks better. It looks more fitted, more finished. And in this case, I used nylon hardware. Believe it or not, these are actually very strong, about 150 pounds tensile strength for a 1/4 inch nylon screw. And you know, I mentioned those earlier, and they actually perform 3 functions. Those two things. Not only do they move the load closer to the pivot point of the main bracket, but also they prevent the wings from flapping around. And also because fiberglass, when it comes from off the mold, when fiberglass comes off the mold, it's fairly distorted, if you will. It's not perfectly straight. So in order to get the plane, this plane right here, let's see if we can get it this way. The plane where the 2 wings meet together, it needs to be pulled one way or the other. So those are very important to do that. I realized when I installed the windshield that one side was more lopsided than the other. It was the wing was hanging off on one side, and the other side was very flat. But I'm glad that that job is done. And also those pivot points, they gave me some sort of point to install my gauge cluster, and you'll see that it's rubber mounted in there. I can wiggle it around, and it will cut the vibration going to the very fragile clockwork that's inside the old gauges. They're cable driven, they're not electronic, and they came out really well. Button gauge, I still need to do some work on it and maybe cut off some of excess material on triple tree. I haven't decided yet, but the fairing looks really good on there. It's coming along. I'm very happy with it. And one thing I contacted GP Cycle Works for is the finish, the different finish. If you see this is the seat, and the top of the fiberglass came at a separate time than the bottom. The bottom is what it should look like, black gel coat. That's what it should look like. The top and the seat, on the other hand, are different finish. And if you look closely, it has some sort of orange peel to it, kind of like it was sprayed on afterwards, not part of the process. And unfortunately, look, I can push my fingernail into it. It's a clean surface, but you see that? Look, I don't know. I asked them about it, and they didn't have a response for me. I don't know what that is. I hope it's not paint, because I was hoping to polish this up and just have a plain black gel coat. But the fiberglass itself is very strong. I prepared a crude experiment, very primitive one. This is a motorcycle fender made of steel, pretty heavy gauge of that. I'd say that's about maybe a 12 gauge, 14 gauge steel maybe. But yeah, let's hit it with a big hammer. Yeah, that's, I don't know if you can see. It's definitely dented. Now it's dented, and this would require some work if I needed to, if I wanted to keep reusing it. This is a fiberglass I cut out from the lower portion of the fairing, and we'll hit it with the same hammer. Let's see. Well, let's try it again. That's a major force. Let's try it again. It's unbelievable. That is unbelievable. You can see it's very tough. It still holds the shape. It is very strong. Obviously, it delaminated itself, so it could stand to be fixed if you wanted to. But it's so strong that it is basically a protective helmet for your motorcycle. It will save your motorcycle in the crash, and I speak that from experience. I have crashed a motorcycle with a full fairing before, and most of the bike was a-okay underneath it. And fiberglass can be repaired, unlike plastic or ABS. Fiberglass is very fixable. And yeah, I like using the fiberglass when possible. It is fairly expensive for the seat and the fairing. Shipped to my house was $1,165, so close to $1,200. But if you want a special motorcycle, I think it's worth it. It's definitely worth it, and it will make it a unique motorcycle. And I think that's about all I have for you on this episode. Oh, another thing to mention: when you install the windshield, for example, you might, especially on this type of windshield, some windshields get mounted on the outside of the fairing, some other get mounted on the inside of the fairing. The inside is no biggie. The ones that get mounted on the outside will catch a lot of dust. Water will eventually get in there on the inside, all the way around. Water, dust, whatever. Try to, when you install the windshield, I don't know if you can see, but try to keep a little bit of gap in there for water to escape. It's not enough for my knife to fit in there, but you see the dust underneath the windshield just from myself grinding away at it. That's an example, and the only way to get rid of that is unbolt the windshield and clean it up. One way to prevent it is put some sort of foam seal in between, or simply painting the screen before installation. Painting about the same width as the overlap with the fairing to prevent that dust and water buildup in there. And it's somewhat unsightly if left there. But oh, another thing I almost forgot: the windshield, the headlight is finally, I got it to where I need it to be in order to aim correctly at the road. And for that reason, you see the chrome trim ring is not below the surface, which I did not want. So this looks good right now, but that means that the top of the headlight will, actually the shell of the headlight will need to be painted the same color as the fairing itself eventually. But you'll see how close the, you can see in this light, maybe I'll go on the other side, it's a better light, the pivot of the headlight, in order to aim it, it is so close to the surface of the, okay, there it is, it's a little better, more visible there. And there is a pivot of the headlight. It's so close to the surface of the fairing, and that was the only way to do it. Okay, with that, I'll let you go. Bye-bye.